Welcome to the course. In this course, you will learn about the dangers of sharing things on the network, especially on public Wi-Fi networks. Now, on any computer system, you might share different things on the network. That could be folders, remote desktop, remote access, or other kind of things. There's a lot of things you can share on the network. Now, on a network, any computer, any electronic device has its own unique network address called an IP address. For example, on Windows, we can search for network, view network connections, right-click properties, and then if we double-click on Ethernet status, if we go to details, we find the network address, the IP version 4 address. You'll see this address of 4 digits. That's the specific network address of this computer. Every computer has its own address that usually consists of those 4 digits with dots in between. It's called the IP address. Now, an alternative way to see that address is starting PowerShell and then typing the command ipconfig. So in here we see the IP version 4 address, and you'll see the same network address. So this is, you can view this in Windows computers, but Mac computers and Linux computers have the same thing because every device on the network has its own IP address. Now, why is that important? Because when you share things on the network, it might be that you and your friends or colleagues aren't the only one on that network. There might be hackers on that network, especially in an airport or any public Wi-Fi, who then use your network address to try to gain access to this computer or to your device. So in this course, we'll give you a clear overview, both from the defense perspective and the hacker's perspective, on how they gain access to your computer and how to prevent it. Windows users might take their computer everywhere, to an airport, a hotel, a restaurant, and so on, and at the same time share things on the network that they share on their local network or perhaps their business network, not thinking about it too much that a hacker might then potentially attack their device. So on Windows, there's all kinds of ways you can share things on the network. For example, you can share a folder. If you right-click on any folder, you can click Properties, click Sharing. See, it has built-in sharing over the network. And then you go to Advanced, share this folder, Apply, OK, and then click Share, and Share. And now that folder is shared on the network. Now, that doesn't matter if it is your own network or your business network, but if you connect to a public network, that can be very dangerous because there might be hackers on that same network who then can start trying to gain access into, for example, this shared folder. Or perhaps you share the entire computer as a folder, and then they have access to your entire computer. So that is a big security risk. Now, there are other things you can share on the network. For example, maybe you enable remote desktop. On Windows, you have remote desktop settings where you can share the remote desktop. Or perhaps you're using one of the other Windows features. You can search for turn Windows features on and off. If we click on that one, turn Windows features on and off, you'll see all kinds of Windows features. Some are for network sharing. For example, different types of file sharing. This is an old version of network sharing, which is insecure. By default, it's using this one that we just saw built in. Might have Telnet enabled, sharing something over Telnet, or other network devices, depending on the Windows computer or the network services, might be enabled. That are fine for local network or business, but it might be a security risk when you take your computer to different locations and connect to strange Wi-Fi connections that are not your own. There are different computer systems. So in the previous video, you saw the Windows system. Here we have the Kali Linux system. This system is often used by cybersecurity experts and ethical hackers for cybersecurity purposes and also for hacking. And so you see this system looks different than what you might be used to. If we go to the top left corner, we'll see all kinds of categories, information gathering, so gathering information about systems or networks, scanning for vulnerabilities, scanning web applications, databases, doing password attacks, wireless attacks, reverse engineering software, and all kinds of hacking tools and software. You'll see many different softwares that can be started. Some of these apps will be our command line, and some of these apps are a graphical interface. So this system is specifically designed for one purpose and one purpose only, for cybersecurity and ethical hacking. And this system is completely free. So if you go to the website kali.org, so if I start the browser here, if we go to the website kali.org, you'll see there's Get Kali, and see kali.org/Get Kali. Then it's possible to download the system. You can either install it to a computer. If you do so, make sure that it's not a computer you actually use so that you don't lose any of your files or data. You can run it in a virtual machine like VMware or VirtualBox. That's an app where you can run other computer systems on top of your system. So imagine you can run VirtualBox, and then with VirtualBox you can run Linux on top of Windows 11, or you might run Windows 10 on top of Windows 11. You can run different computer systems on top of each other, complete with the graphical interface and all the features. Now, it's also possible to run Kali on a mobile phone. I wouldn't recommend it because the screen size is very small and it's lacking a keyboard. You can run it in a cloud, however, it would be in a different network, so not really practical for this course. Or a live boot, so if you have a spare computer left, you could install the Kali into a USB drive, reboot a computer, and you then have access to a Kali computer, to the Kali system. So there are different ways to run Kali Linux. You don't have to follow the exact steps in this course. You could also just follow along with the videos and do the quizzes, or you might want to reproduce the steps depending on your preference. But basically it's a computer system just like Windows or Mac. However, this system is specifically designed for cybersecurity and ethical hacking. Ever wondered how hackers see your entire network in just a few clicks? I'll show you how to visualize a live network using ZenMap, a graphical tool for Nmap that makes your entire network visual. So to start ZenMap, first you need to have Kali Linux, a system used by cybersecurity experts and hackers. And if you have it installed, the interface will look something like this. On the left top, you'll have the start menu with different programs. One of the categories is vulnerability analysis, and you'll find the program ZenMap. So if you start ZenMap, you'll see this interface, this graphical interface with different columns. So you can specify the targets, the type of profile that you want to do, and a button to scan either a single computer or the entire network. And there are different tabs to present the information. So by default, it doesn't show much. We need to specify the target. Now, what is the target? Well, let's say first we scan our own computer. So we get the address, the network address of our computer, and do that with this command. And if you press enter, it will have a lot of output, but the address will be highlighted in purple. So you'll see a lot of output. And the network address is the first one. That's this one. This is the network address. So it's highlighted in purple. We can copy this and paste it in our target. So this is just a network address in our network. This is our own IP address. And we could click scan. It will then start scanning our own computer. And you'll see it appear in the host. If you click on services, you'll see any services running. Now, because this is a Kali Linux live system, it doesn't list any services. We can click through these tabs. You'll see we have our computer listed. We can get some details of our computer, that it's online. In this case, no boards open. Our internet address, and that's it. And this is the command that it used. So behind the scenes, it ran this command in the terminal. Now, what if we want to scan the entire network? Then we remove the last 3 digits. But sometimes it's 2 digits or 1 digit. We just remove them. So just after the last dot, and we add /24. So /24 means we want to scan the entire subnet. So all 254 possible network addresses. And make sure to select Intent Scan and then click Scan. So that will start scanning the entire network, and you'll see the hosts appear here, any device on the network will start appearing here. Now, it might take a while before they appear. So you'll see it's initiating the scan. And because I clicked an intent scan, it might take a while for it to show or to finish. And you'll also see it here once it's done scanning. Now, this can take a while, so what we'll do instead is do a quick scan, a ping scan, and that will just check which devices are online. So if you click scan, you'll see the network devices appear. So we know if these devices are online or offline. These are devices on the same network. So see different devices. So this is a visualization of our network. We are in the middle, and we have these devices around us connected on the same Wi-Fi. Now, if you click fisheye, it will be a bit more visual. So this is us, our Kali computer, and these are different devices on the same network. You see their network addresses, the 4 digits separated by dots. That's the internet address for every device, just like your home has an address. Now, we can get details about every device connected on the network. So we can click through this, and we can get some details like the network address, if it's online, if it has any open services, so any network connected service. And also we might find the hardware address. You click through it, you'll find the different hardware addresses, the MAC addresses. So we know now which devices are on the network, and we know their network address and their MAC address, their hardware address. So we have some information about our network. With ZenMap, we could create a topology. If we did a ping scan, we could create a topology of the different devices connected on the same Wi-Fi network. So every device had its own network address, IP address, which consists of those 4 digits. So this is the address of this yellow dot, this is the address of this green dot, and so on. Every device has its own network address. Now, we did that with the ping scan. That is very fast, but it doesn't tell you if any services are shared on the network. So a service might be remote desktop, it might be sharing a folder on the network, or anything that is opening the door, as so to speak, on the computer, a so-called port. So what we can do is change the profile here and change it to quick scan, and then click scan, and it will then start telling you for every device which services are running. So you'll see in green here some open services are found on the network. We see on 2 different devices. Not all devices have ports open. You'll see on device .1 we have a bunch of ports open, and on device 139 we have a bunch of ports open. And we did a quick scan. Now this doesn't scan all the ports, so if you want a more full scan, you might do quick scan plus. It will give you a little bit more information, or alternatively you could do an intent scan where you get all of the information. Now we can also click on services. We'll see all the services that are open on the network right now. That's nice, but we can also get it for a computer specifically. So if we go to ports and hosts, we can click through them. And for example, on this computer, .139, we find 3 network ports that are open. So we'll find some of these ports. 445 is often used for sharing files or sharing a folder on the network. So that might mean that it's sharing any folder on the network. If we go to host details for that computer, we'll see it's a Windows computer with 3 open ports. We'll see when it was last started, how long it's been online, the network address. We'll also see the name of the computer system, the hardware address, and we can also browse through it and find some more information on this specific system. So in this case, it found at least 3 ports. Now, it might be interested for a hacker to scan the entire computer. So they might say intent scan, and then specifically scan that computer. So that's 139 and click scan. And now it's scanning that computer, the entire, or scanning the first 1000 ports. And it might select intent scan all TCP ports. Let's see if we can find some more. So it found those 3 ports so far, and it will scan all 65,000 open ports, all 65,000 network ports. So we might discover some more. Now, why is that important? Because a hacker can then use those network ports to try and gain access into your computer. They're sort of like as windows are to a house, ports are to a computer. So they can be used to gain access into a computer. And usually it's for legitimate purposes, for example, remote desktop, or sharing a folder, or other kind of things. But hackers can also use those ports to gain access on your computer if you're on the same network. So we found several ports so far. You'll see we found some more ports that are open on the target computer. And while it keeps scanning, you might find some more ports. Here we have a network topology. So this in the middle, this black dot is us, and those are the network devices on the internet. Different numbers here, there are different IP addresses, different addresses for those specific devices. Now you see some of them have colors, so some are green and some are yellow, and in some cases there are red ones as well. That's how many network ports they have open. So a green one, it means few network ports open. Yellow, it's 3 to 6 ports are open, and red, more than 6 ports open. So they should have meaning, those colors. Now let's take a look at this host 139. So if we go to host details, we'll see it's a Windows computer, Microsoft Windows 11, and it has at least 5 open ports. Now sometimes there can be more. So what you can do is take this command, copy it, open a terminal and paste it in. It will then do the same as the ZenMap was doing. It will scan the computer for open ports. So it found some of the open ports here, you'll see. 135 discovered, 139, 445, 2179, and so on. Now, on desktop computers, some ports are more interesting than others. So some interesting ports on a Windows computer are 3389. Some users share their desktop, so remote desktop access. That means that if a hacker can hack the passwords, they can then remotely control the computer using the desktop. Then another one interesting, 445 and 139. Now you might recall that on Windows you can share a folder on the network. And that's also interesting for a hacker because then they can start browsing in your computer. So you can search specifically for ports. Every port has its own purpose. So some ports may be more interesting than others, and these ports are very interesting for hackers. So what they can do is type Nmap -p, and instead of the entire port scan, they might look for specific ports. Let's say 3389, 445, and 139 on the target device. So in this case, the same IP address. And then it starts scanning that computer for those specific ports. So in this case, remote desktop, and we're also looking for file sharing. And you'll see this Windows computer has all of those open. So a hacker might then go ahead and start attacking those ports. It might try to crack the passwords of those services. In the last video, we scanned for some specific ports that are very interesting for hackers for Windows desktop. So those are 3389, the remote desktop. Sometimes users enable that. And network file sharing allows different network users to access their files to be accessed. However, that can be a big security risk if you're on a public network like an airport, a hotel, or restaurant, or any kind of situation where you're on the same network as a hacker. That might be very bad to have any of those network services open. So they might figure out your username by simply going through LinkedIn if it's a company, or asking around in a restaurant. There are different ways. But they might also need your passwords if it is not password protected. So you'll see here ports 445 and 139. Those are often used for file sharing. So let's try to connect using the File Explorer. So we type SMB : / and then the network address of the computer. And you'll see it's asking us for a username password. Now we might figure out, or the hacker might figure out the username simply by browsing social media, by browsing LinkedIn or other platforms to know who's working in that company. But they don't know their password. So they would need to do a password attacks. They could randomly try different passwords. So they could try that manually, but that would take forever. So they'll use an automated tool for that with a password list. So in this case, Kali comes with such a password list. In user share word lists, there's a large password list called the rock.txt. So we're going to copy that to the Kali folder and then right-click extract here. And it will take a moment or so to appear. You'll see this rock.txt. This is a list with millions of passwords. So if I open a new tab here and start actually listing the file, you'll see those are millions of commonly used passwords. Now I can go through this entire list, and it is a really huge list with millions of passwords. And they can then use a program to try every password one by one. So first they'll try connecting with this password, then this password, this password, this password, this password, and so on, completely automatically. So they are not typing anything, a program will do it for them. Now, believe it or not, Kali comes with a tool to attack that shared network on Windows, shared folders, using a common tool. So that's the tool called Nmap exec. See, it's installed by default. Now, we're not gonna run it directly like this, but we'll run it slightly different. So we'll say Nmap exec. You'll see it supports different protocols to attack. We're interested in the shared folders. So we type SMB. Then the target address, in this case, the address of our target, username, and a password list, which in this case is rock.txt. Then press enter and it will start attacking that computer using a username and trying the passwords one by one. So if I press enter, you'll see it has a small error, so it should be a lowercase p. And it's now attacking that computer and we'll try the passwords one by one. Let's see, the first ones were errors, but then it found the password in green. And now we know the username and password of that computer. You see, this is the command we run. So Nmap exec SMB, the protocol. So there are different network services. SMB is the file sharing one or shared folder. The computer address, the username, and the password list. So one single command, and then we found the password. Now this will only work if the password is in that list of passwords. So in this case, that list is around 40 million passwords, but they are commonly used passwords. So if the password is in any of those 40 million passwords, then an attacker can gain access to the computer. Now it might take a while because, of course, trying 6 million passwords until you find the password, but they have time. They can just keep it running because it's completely automatic. So now what they might do is simply log into that network drive. So they go to the File Explorer, type the computer address, username and password. So it found that using this command here. And then the password is shown here. So it can type in the password and connect. And now we're inside that computer on the shared drive. So that's how a hacker can gain access to the computer, in this case using one of the Windows shares.